Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, babe. How you feeling?
I'm good.
You good?
Good morning, guys. Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with the Brooks.
Guys, listen, I'm super excited. We are going live. Shout out to Custom Homes of Virginia
Yes.
for the opportunity for us to broadcast live today from the Dream Center. So I just want to tell you guys, I'm just super grateful for Custom Homes of Virginia giving us the opportunity for the months and weeks that we did it from their home,
Model home.
their model home, and they have since sold it. And somebody said that it was partly due to the exposure, just a little bit from Breakfast with the Brookses. So I'm super excited about that, guys. Listen, if you guys can do me a huge favor as we get our devices and everything worked out here, I want to find out who we got live. Babe, we're going to pick up the conversation, excuse me, on blended families, and we're going to talk about that whole subject today.
Well, first, before we get started, I want to once again welcome you guys to Breakfast with the Brooks. I'm Sheri Brooks Jr. I'm an author, speaker, relationship, and life balance coach, and this is my husband.
Glenn P. Brooks Jr., author, speaker, coach. Just excited. I woke up late this morning, and so I'm a little bit scatterbrained today.
He's a little discombobulated, but it's all good. So if you are new to our channel, we want to ask you to please subscribe and make sure you ring the bell so that you can get notifications when we go live and when we post new videos to our channel. I want to thank you again for joining us this morning on our channel, and let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So listen, shout out to Sidna. Thanks for jumping on. Sidna,
Hey,
Eric
Teresa.
Jones Jr. representing the entire Midwest. Teresa Bryant, good to see
He
you.
representing the entire Midwest.
Yeah. If you ever hear him shout out,
The entire Midwest.
he'll tell you right
All by
now.
himself.
Where you repping EJ? The whole Midwest, the whole Midwest. So no, I'm excited, babe. Today I want to kind of pick up where we left off last week, and before we get completely into that, we've got an event coming up in November
Yes.
that I want everybody to become really, really aware of. And we're going to have to drop the links in the chat here in a little bit. But we're doing a retreat in November the 18th, I want to say through the 23rd. You can actually go to our website now, www.thecrcoach.com. And there you can learn more about a workshop that we're doing. It's actually a retreat. It's not a workshop. It's at the Outer Banks in North Carolina. Anybody ever been to the Outer Banks, you know it is a destination place of destination places. It is a very beautiful place, even in November. Beautiful sands, beautiful beaches. And we're going to be at a mansion. It's a 24-room mansion. It's called the Black Stallion. It is really, really, really nice. And we're going to get together. I believe the capacity is 24 couples.
Yes.
And we're targeting people who are busy trying to figure out how to blend their family.
Right, and spaces are filling up. So if you are interested, it's the Power of Covenant Retreat for Couples and Blended Marriages. We're partnering with the founders of Married to the Ring, Miss, Tanya Williamson.
Mm-hmm. Tanya.
And you were getting ready to say?
No, I'll keep going. I'm sorry.
We're partnering with them. This is their event. They originally asked us to come in and just speak, but now they have partnered with us, and we're going to be the lead speakers for the retreat. But it's going to be a great time. This is not going to be your traditional retreat. We're going to do a lot of interaction, a lot of real
live
activities to be able to help you to work in a relationship. This isn't going to be about you necessarily sitting and listening to talking heads the whole time. You're going to get opportunities to spend time with your spouse, to be able to enjoy some downtime and really work on building your relationship and investing in yourselves during this time. So if you are interested, please go to our website, www.thecrcoach.com. There you can get the information on the retreat. Space is limited. It's filling up. We're over half full already. And so, you want to go ahead and secure your space today if you're interested so that you can make it to that event.
Love it. So shout out to Gerald and Tanya again for inviting us to be a part of that. Again, we are just trying to do some value add, man, to people who are trying to grow families. And it's not just for blended families, it's for couples who are just super busy. Maybe you don't get the opportunity very often to take time to invest in yourself, in your relationship. And I think that unfortunately, that's way too many of us.
Yes.
And as a result of that, we want to do what we can to show up and make sure that you guys get to be a part of that. I think it's going to be exciting. Can't wait. So I just want to let everybody know that. Shout out to Mike Coven. Good to see you in the building, Mike. Tell
Yes,
Don.
November 18th through the 23rd.
Thanks for putting that
Yep,
in the
week
chat.
before Thanksgiving.
Week before Thanksgiving.
To get you some investment in yourself before the crazy family and all that for Thanksgiving.
No, that's a real thing, baby, because I know that a lot of times, particularly when you're blending families, you got issues going with who goes where and the holidays and all that sort of stuff. And so I want to invite you guys to come be a part of that, get your mind right before you have to navigate the holiday season. Today, we're going to get into a topic that we had started last week. We're talking about blending families, talking about why is it so hard and does it really have to be? Last week, and if you guys had any of the notes from last week, I want you to drop it into Dawn's birthday of the 17th. I know, look, that'd be a great reason to get away if y'all want to.
Get away for her
And Mike, let me just say this. Let me just go sidebar real quick. The place, the amenities in this place,
it's beautiful.
Unreal. Y'all need to go to the website and check it out because we're going to be doing maybe 2 hours worth of teaching or workshop
per day.
So other than that,
it's your time.
It is y'all's time. So we literally, Sheri and I, we're coming to kind of also get away. Right? So we too need time, and this place has more than enough amenities to be able to do that. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. So last week we left off and we talked a little bit about, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I just kind of want to freestyle a little bit. We talked a little bit about why is it so difficult, Sheri, for people to blend families. You and I have been at this for more than 20 years now. And one of the biggest challenges for us was getting everybody on the same page so that we could continue to grow and do what needed to be done. The question then becomes often, how do you navigate that? How do you raise kids? How do you grow in this relationship with the ex in mind, with that whole side of the family, if you will, in mind? And one of the things we said last week is that, and this is a strategy, if you can approach blending family from this perspective, that it is not about you.
Right.
I think that it changes the game. It changes the game for how you pick up and how you move. Yes?
Right. And I think that that's the key component, is being able to realize that it's not about you and focusing on it being just about the children and letting them be the primary focus.
Yeah, just keep going.
And not being focused on, your emotions, your feelings, setting yourselves aside and realize this is about the children. The
Correct.
Children didn't ask to be divorced. The children didn't ask to be separated from their parents. You broke up with their parent.
Correct.
You guys broke up, but their relationship doesn't end with their parent just because your relationship ends.
Right. And so one of the things that I want you guys to do is talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges. We got enough people on right now. If you are blending a family, let's put it in the chat. Biggest challenge that you have, biggest challenge that you either are having or you have had while blending a family. And I know for us, this something someone said to me a couple of years ago that resonated with me. We were out and about somewhere, struck up a conversation with a lady, and she was talking about raising kids, and she made a statement that messed me up. And her statement was, I've had to learn how, and I need y'all to hear this, how to love my children more than I hate my ex.
Right. And I think that's a hard thing to do because we allow our emotions and our feelings to sometimes supersede the needs of our children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I can speak from my own experience. With my daughter's father, we had a very rocky relationship. And in the beginning, it was hard. It was really hard for me to push past my emotions. But I got to a point where I realized, this ain't about me. This isn't about him and the two of us having a relationship or not having a relationship. If he wants to have a relationship with his daughter, I have to step back and allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Now, for our particular situation, he wasn't in a space during that time that he was able to push past that either. And so for a number of years, he wasn't involved with her, but I never badmouthed him. I never, tried to prevent him from being able to spend time with her. But it took time for us both. We both had to mature. We were 19 when we got married.
Yep.
So we both had to mature. But as, she got older and she decided she wanted to pursue the relationship, because I had set aside my feelings what I thought about him, how I felt about him, you know, the hurts from our relationship. I was able to set that aside. I didn't impede her pursuing a relationship with him. And today she has a relationship with her father as an adult.
Right.
He knows our grandchildren. I mean, she goes and visits him, and she's been able to build that relationship in spite of, you know, what we went through.
Yeah.
And even today, you know, he and I are friendly. I mean, I wouldn't say. I think it's more so because of space, because of just distance. We
Yes.
don't have a real relationship, but we're friendly to each other. I mean, I usually on Father's Day I call him or I text him and I thank him, you know, for giving me the best gift anybody could have ever given me, which is my daughter. And so I've been able to move past my feelings, past my emotions that I've gone through in the past. You know, the hurt, to be able to allow her to build a relationship with him and separate that. And I think that's the hardest part for parents is to separate.
Right.
The two relationships.
Right, and even and I see Marsha made a comment. She said one of the challenges that she has is you have a bitter baby's mama, which is one issue, and then you have a spouse who caters to her. And I know one of the challenges we went through that. I remember having this notion, or I know. Let me say it this way. There was a moment where I realized that because of what I did in the relationship prior,
right.
I'm going to back all the way up because I want to talk about the bitter baby's mother. Men, I need y'all to lean into this and I need y'all to hear this. Ladies, if you can get your men, your significant others, your husbands in the room, I need y'all to hear this. There was a role that I had to take that started with owning the crap that I did that caused the demise of our relationship. Now, let me say this on the front end. Every relationship isn't the same. So I don't want you to hear this from the standpoint of comparing your relationship to mine and how things went bad for me. And well, Glenn, you don't understand. That didn't happen for me. I need you to hear the principle of what I'm saying. Here's what I know to be true. It takes two people to make a thing go right, as Rob Bass would say. The truth is that it also takes two people to make a thing go wrong.
Right.
And what I want y'all to understand, when it comes to blending a family, you have to deal with the elephant in the room. You have to, if you're going to navigate that course successfully, the elephant in the room has to get dealt with. Now, there are choices involved on every front. For me, I made the choice to own my crap and to own my part, the part that I played, the things that I did that added to the demise of our relationship, thus added to my ex-wife's bitterness. Here's what I am going to say, and if Deirdre is listening to this and she catches this replay, she'll agree. When she and I met, she was not bitter.
Right.
When we broke up, there were some things that she was absolutely bitter and embittered about. And it had everything to do with things that I either allowed or things that I did. Here's the principle. I want you to look at the landscape of the bitterness. Men, I'm talking to you. And ask yourself the question, is there any part in that I played that I can own? In my book, How I Got My Son Back, I write about me taking ownership of my part. It was the only part that I could control. I couldn't control her being angry with me. She had every right to be angry. She had every right to be bitter. She had every right not to like you or anybody else that came in my life because of things. And the crazy thing is she didn't start off not liking you per se. No. As a matter of fact, she actually would reach out to you even though she was still somewhat bothered with me. So the bitterness for her, I think, was more me than it was her. But here's what I need you guys to understand. Bitterness is allowed to grow when it's ignored. Hear me clearly, guys. When you find what even the Bible calls a root of bitterness, think about a root. A root is something that grows over time. And unfortunately, if you do not deal with an issue, it will continue to grow and fester and get worse. So step one is own the stuff that you did, even if it's 1% of the whole problem. For me, I was probably 95% wrong in all of what happened in our relationship. Well, I went through a series of owning that, and what it did is it began to dilute the bitterness. I began pouring water on the pain or pouring some kind of salve on this fire that was raging.
Right, and the other part of that, you have to realize that everybody processes differently. If the ex is bitter, that's their issue. There's a part that, the ex-spouse can play to try to resolve the issue, to apologize for their part. But once you do that, you can't control another person and how they process and where they are. And I think that one thing that happens is that we want, you want everybody to get along, everybody to be happy. That's the ideal situation. But some people, it's a matter of maturity. Until they have grown to the point that they're able to let that go.
Yeah.
You can't make that happen, and you have to learn how to navigate around that for the sake of the children.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even if they are bitter, even if they are mean, you have to figure out a way that you guys can, I don't know if maybe it's you guys just communicate by text, I don't know. But you have to figure out a way that you can still have some line of communication with that person for the benefit of the child. And that's where you stress to that person when you're having the conversation, this is about them. We're not talking about us.
Right.
We're talking about what is best for this child. What do I need to do? What can we do to ensure that things are beneficial for the child? And that takes a level of maturity on both parts.
Yeah.
And I would like to speak to the ladies, to the women that are bitter, that you've been scorned by this man and he's left you, and now you're with these kids and you're raising them by yourself and you're angry and you're hurt. Don't take that out on your children. And realize that when you are preventing your child from spending time with their father, you're taking that out on your child, because they had nothing to do with that.
Right.
That was not their fault. Like I said before, and I started off earlier, because the two of you broke up, your child didn't break up with their father.
I want to stay right there for a second.
You got to remember that their relationship does not end just because your relationship ends. And just because he may have been a lousy boyfriend, he may have been a lousy husband, does not mean he's going to be a lousy father.
So here's a difference, and here's a challenge, Sheri. When you have people who are bitter, oftentimes we will function and we will flow out of emotion. Mm-hmm. And so our emotion becomes the compass. Our emotion becomes the mandate. Our emotion becomes the path by which we travel.
Right.
Here's the problem with emotions. You can't trust them.
Right.
Let me say that again. You cannot trust completely in your emotions. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because at any given moment, depending on the way the wind is blowing, depending on the set of circumstances, your emotions can change just like that. But here's what won't change. What's not going to change is the fact that that's still their father. Mm-hmm. What's not going to change is the fact that that's still their mother. So how you show up, and I'm talking again to the men who are dealing with this issue where maybe you have this embittered baby's mother. I recognized early on that if I was going to have a successful relationship with my child, if I was going to have a successful relationship, listen to this, with my new spouse, with my new significant other, with a new family, if I was going to move on,
right,
and it be successful, I could not do that without going back and dealing with the mess that I'd created prior to getting into this new life.
Right, and she had a choice. You could have gone to her and apologized, and she could have been like, all right, I hear you, but I'm still mad.
Right.
I'm still bitter.
That's
I'm
true.
Still angry. And she gets to make that choice. That's on her. But you still have to learn how to navigate around that for the sake of the child. And I think people get stuck in that. It's like, well, she's being this and she's, being difficult. Okay, and that's why, hope that it doesn't have to go to this, but that's why they have the court system that you can get, visitation. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, there are things you can put in place to make sure that you still get involved with your child. What often happens in reality is that because there's a bitter spouse, a bitter ex, the other parent will just pull back and be like, well, I ain't dealing with that. Mm-hmm. But when you say, I'm not dealing with that, you're not dealing with your child.
Ooh, y'all got to hear that. Y'all got to hear that.
You don't want to go through the icky part. You don't want to go through having to deal with her being nasty or whatever. And so you just pull back and be like, I'm not going to do it. Or you then, you cower to that and you don't set up boundaries. A boundary is, you're not going to talk to me in this manner. We're going to just have conversations in relation to our child.
Yep.
And that's all we're talking about. There are boundaries. You're going to respect me. You're going to respect my new spouse. there are boundaries they can put in place, and if they're not willing to respect those boundaries, that's where then, the court system may have to come into play to ensure that you get your visitation, to ensure, you may need a mediator.
Right. And
there are steps you can take, but oftentimes we don't want to go through those extra steps.
Right.
We'd rather just be, like Glenn said, get in your emotions, because she bitter now, you got an attitude, and you pissed off, and I ain't gonna do this, and then your new spouse is pissed off because of this, and it's like all this emotion is flying around, and the child is sitting over in the corner like, I just want to spend time with my parent.
I want to stop right there because, see, guys, listen to me, guys, listen. The okie doke is to get caught up in your emotions and get fixated on the negativity. Right. That's the okie doke. Here's the problem with that, and I'm going to promise you, in retrospect, our oldest is 34. Mm-hmm. Our youngest is 25. He'll be 26 in October. We have 2 grandchildren. We got a whole bunch of years of retrospect. In retrospect, here's what I now understand. Those emotions are serve their own purpose.
Right.
When I give way to that, what happens is it gives birth to something else.
Right.
The something else is no relationship with your children. Right. The something else is a ruined relationship with your now spouse.
Right.
If we don't get, and we're going to be talking about this in this workshop, we're going to actually take people through some training on how to, and we're going to do some situational stuff. Right. Where we're going to actually do interactive training and talk through and work through what it looks like to step up and have the actual conversation. If I am a passive man by personality type, not by choice, not because I'm a punk, I'm not dealing with that kind of passivity. Right. You just gonna cower. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you are a laid back, chilled, you don't do a whole lot of talking kind of guy. Right. That is your temperament. Right. We would consider that in the turtle family. We would consider that in the chameleon family, right? This is where your temperament is not one that you're going to say a lot. You're certainly not going to do a whole bunch of screaming and yelling. You're not going to do a whole bunch of fighting and arguing, that sort of stuff. Here's what you have to do. You have to be calculative on what the end is going to look like should you continue to stay quiet. Here's what you have to recognize. As I continue to not address the elephant in the room, it's going to get worse. And the emotion will every single time lead to this, guys, and hear me clearly. It will lead to the ruin of the real situation. Right. On the back end, now that our kids are grown, I am so grateful that we put in work, and it was not easy.
Right, right.
When Deirdre wanted to reach out and have a relationship with you and you thought that was crazy. He was like, yo, who does that? Right. Like, why? I don't want to be her friend. Why she want to talk to me? Right? And that's how your mindset worked, because you had never seen this before.
Right, right. But it was a level of maturity that I had to come to and embrace that, I was going to be, she was opening the door for me. She was welcoming me to be a part of her son's life because she didn't have to do that.
Right.
She could have been the stoic, bitter ex and been like, I don't want her dealing with my child. But that was her way of welcoming me in. And because I had never dealt with anybody with a child before, I had never been in that type of co-parenting situation. And so I didn't understand that. And that was abnormal. Even when I talked to people, they was like, she what? She trying to be your friend. She up to something.
Right.
But
that's why you got to be careful who you listen to, y'all.
But today we're great friends. I mean, that's my sister. We've developed a great relationship over the years, and there is no, we parent Justin together. We've become true co-parents. There's no back and forth. We do this together, and I think that one of the things that people, and I just want to keep going back to this, when you allow your emotions, your feelings to get in the way,
it changes everything.
It affects. It's to the detriment of your children.
It really is.
Because it's not about you.
So the question, Sheri, is how do we put ourselves in a position? Now, let's switch gears for a second.
That's what I was going to say. I had lost my train of thought real quick. And so one thing, I'm going to give you guys one practical thing that you can do. One thing that I did, even with my daughter's father, early on when she was seeing him. Because our relationship was so strained and we didn't have good communication, I went through his sister. And so she was the conduit between my daughter being able to see her father. And so because we weren't able to communicate, and so there may be a family member, if the relationship is so strained because she's bitter, find a conduit, find a mediator, a middle person that you don't have to have conversations with. If they're bitter, You don't have to have direct conversations with the person.
Right.
But that doesn't mean your child doesn't get to still see them. It
Right.
can be through the grandmother. Well, I'm going to drop them off at the grandmother and they can see them through that.
Right.
way.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. And I think we get cut up of, well, if he want to see him, he need to get him. Let them spend time with that side of the family. They're going to get exposure to their parent.
Right.
But what we do is we wind up cutting off the whole family because in our mind, the father ain't doing what he's supposed to do or the mother ain't doing what she's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's to the detriment of the child. The child has another family.
Right.
And yes, it's, you want them to have a relationship with their father, but it may be through another party that they get to be able to get that relationship. They get to spend that time.
Yep.
And so you got to be creative. You got to think out of the box and stop being so stuck on what you want as opposed to what your child needs.
So really quickly, guys, and I see your question, Eric Jones Jr. I want to make sure I understand it really quickly. What if it's your bonus kid and not your biological child? I'm not sure what the actual question is, so I'm going to take a stab at it, unless you can give me some clarity. So in other words, I think what I may hear you saying is, what if the issue is with your bonus child or with your
you're the bonus parent and you're trying to have a relationship with your bonus child. And you're having challenges with being able to have that relationship.
So in my case, because when we got married,
that's like
Shantae was in the house.
Right.
So I'm the bonus dad trying to develop a relationship with my bonus child. And so what I'd like to get some clarity on, because I want to make sure I answer it specifically, is what about that? What is it? What is your question about that? How do you show up? How do you navigate that? There's a myriad of questions that could be there. I'm not sure if I understand it. Here's what I want to make sure I'm clear on, though. And I need to make this point before we get off here today, guys. The answer to almost any scenario dealing with blending a family is going to be the action word love. Mm-hmm. The answer to figuring out how to bridge the gap between bitter and not bitter. The answer to bridging the gap between bonus and biological. The answer to bridging the gap between co-parents. The answer to bridging the gap between someone who is pissed off and don't want to do the work and then someone who's not. The answer is always love. And I want to submit this to you guys. Love is a verb. I had the opportunity to watch. I thought it was a pretty dope interview on the Red Table Talks with Common. Mm-hmm. And he talked about, as a father, recognizing that he had dropped the ball. His daughter brought that to his attention. Right. And he owned his part in that. And one of the things that he recognizes is that what trumped the whole situation was being able to embrace it and love. Let me tell y'all what I mean when I say that. And I'll get to your question, Eric. What I mean is that love is a choice. Hear me pretty clearly, guys. I need y'all to stop what you're doing and just lean in for a second. Love is a verb, and it's always a choice. Right. I chose to love my bonus daughter as if she were my biological daughter. Whether she accepted me or not, I chose to show up and love her that way. Right. In order for me to understand how to love her that way, I needed to understand what real love looked like.
Right. And when he says what that looks like, that's being present. It's actively being present, being involved in that child's life. It's one thing to sit back and say, yeah, I'm the bonus parent, or I want to be involved in my child's life. But if you're not actively being present, there's action you have to do. It's not just this. Yep. It's not just paying child support. Yep. It's being present in that child's life actively. Yep. It's showing up for their stuff at school. It's showing up for whatever activities they have outside, if they're in sports or whatever. There are ways that you can show up in that child's life. It can be you and the mother may be going at it, but if you know your child is involved in this activity, you can find out what the schedule is. Show up at the game. Yep. Let her see you there. Yep. Let her know that you're there. Yep. Even though, you and the parent may not be getting along, you're there for the child. It's not about the parent. You ain't got to sit with her. You ain't got to sit.
That's
You
good.
can sit on the other side of the stadium as long as your
That's
child
good.
sees you.
That's good.
And they know that you're there.
That's good.
That demonstrates your love to that child. They know that, oh, he's still here for me.
Let me say this, and I want to interject that because Eric asked a question. He said, "No, if you and the mom are going through it, how do you still stay with the relationship with the bonus?" It would be if you and Aunt Cherie split and y'all's daughter goes back to being her daughter. I get it. I totally get it.
And that's why I was speaking to that.
I know you were, and I want to elaborate on that if I can. So to pick up where Cherie left off, if you and the mom and you and your wife in your case are having some challenges, and her daughter, which is your bonus daughter, whom you have a relationship with because there were some good times where you guys were all rocking together, I'm going to suggest to piggyback on what Cherie said. You have to remember, particularly in your case, Eric Jones Jr., I just know that, you're dealing with a teenager. And you're dealing with someone whose emotions are biologically all over the place, right?
Right.
And so what I want you to begin to do is to begin to think through what would it look like for me to continue to show up for not only obviously your biological son in the scenario, but your bonus daughter simultaneously. So now this is creatively, listen, when I get one, I get them both. This is creatively, when I offer for one, I offer for both. This is creatively, I want to make sure I never forget important dates to them, right? If it's their birthday, if it's Valentine's Day, if it's Christmas, if it's whatever is important to them. This is where, there's a chapter in my book, How I Got My Son Back, where I talk about fathering from afar. I think it's highly possible. I think it's highly possible, and it can be super effective as long as your intent and your motive is pure. If your motive really is about adding value to the child, then here's what the child is going to see, regardless of where you and the mother is. They are going to see your action. And I think that you don't let anything dissuade you because you have a legit relationship. Like if something happened to Sheri and I cannot think of a scenario that my daughter is now no longer my daughter.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
Yes.
The same with
but
Justin. That's my son.
I so much so, here's the crazy part, so much so that when we go to family functions, I am no longer married to Justin's mother.
Right.
But she has not allowed the relationship demise of us to continue to be involved in his life as it relates to you and anybody else that's involved in his life. Right. In other words, the breakup of the relationship did not deter her from doing what needed to be done. Hasn't deterred me from showing up. So and even in the, I just can't imagine if you can leave me if you want to. I mean, God bless you. First of all, I'm coming with you. Number one, if you leave, I just want to let you know. They're gonna be some throuple situation going. I'm going right with y'all. They're gonna be like, look. They're gonna be like, what is this dude sleeping out in my front yard about? What is it? Hey man, that's my wife. I'm just here, for when she ready to come back. I'm sorry. I digress. So anyway, the bottom line is, I am not going anywhere because you and I's relationship has nothing to do with the feelings that I have for the child, because they're two separate relationships.
Right, and this is the key to that is consistency.
Yes.
And I want to stress this because this was one of the challenges I did have with my daughter's father, is that was his inconsistency.
Yep.
If you're going to be there, if you are saying I'm going to be there for my child, if you're saying I'm going to be there for my bonus child, be consistent.
Yep.
Because the worst thing for a child, and I got to witness this through my daughter, is the inconsistency of that parent that's not in the home.
Yep.
You show up, then you're gone for a year, and then you pop back up. That takes a child through emotional turmoil. So be consistent as a parent.
Yep.
If you're gonna be there, be there. If you're saying I ain't doing this, then back up and just back up. But you can't do that dropping, that popping back and forth, because for a child, that challenges them emotionally. That's traumatic for a child.
Sure is.
You know, I remember the first year, my daughter's father, he didn't call her for her birthday. I don't know what was going on with him. I don't know where he was. I don't know what happened, but he forgot her birthday. She was traumatized. I mean, it took me, the turmoil, just watching her hurt and go through that was horrific for me, because it was like, it was nothing I could do, nothing I could say to excuse that away.
Right, absolutely.
You know, and then, you know, a year or so later, he pops back up and it's like, hey.
Yep.
Like, ain't, you know, and it's like, so be consistent.
Right.
Consistency is key when you're dealing with a child. If you're raising a child outside of your home, you know, if you're raising a child from afar, the key component is to be consistent.
Yep.
You have to be consistent. That don't mean you have to talk to him every day. It can be, if you talk to him once a month, talk to him once a month.
Yeah.
If you talk to him once a week, talk to him once a week. But make sure you're consistent in whatever it is you're doing, so that they know that you are there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Eric says, thanks. You're welcome, my friend. Listen, guys, and we're almost done for the day. Next week, we're going to have a guest on the show, Lord willing. We can get all the technical stuff worked out. We're going to actually interview a couple who I think they have five kids between their blended family, spanning, I think, from as young as teenager up to grown folks. They are the same couple who have invited us, Tanya and Gerald Williamson, invited us to be a part of Married to the Ring. They have an organization called Married to the Ring, Married to the Covenant of the Ring. And they have this entire thing that they do with a boxing ring, and they're showing you how complex relationships can be. But one of their biggest challenges, are as successful as they've been in their marriage, is this idea of being successful in the blending part. And this is something that you and I kind of perfected over time. We've mastered some stuff in that. And I think a lot of it had to do with just our ability to be self-aware and mature.
Right.
We've often said this, guys, that marriage is for the mature.
Yes.
I think too many people are getting involved in relationships, complex relationships like marriage, with this idea that things will just work themselves out. As coaches, one of the things that we have found is that that's not true. It's not true of the people we get to work with. It wasn't true in our personal relationships. It just wasn't true. Right. And so if you guys want to work with us, if you want to find out more about us, go to thecrcoach.com, www.thecrcoach.com. Sign up for a free discovery session, because I want to help you understand you do not have to stay stuck. Right. We are living witnesses. I know we're not famous, and I know you don't get to see our lives completely unfold like a Will and Jada or people like that, whom I absolutely love how they have been really vulnerable about their life. You know, no, I don't agree with every single thing they say or do, but I love the fact that they're willing to at least put their life on display. Right. and help people understand how certain things can be just possible. Mm-hmm. It is possible to have a relationship with a co-parent. It is possible to have an ongoing growth relationship, but it involves you maturing. It involves you deciding that you're going to grow up. And there are plenty of times I took it on the chin for the team. There are plenty of times I felt unloved or disrespected or, not considered. I know there were times you felt the same way, but we decided that the children was more important than our feelings.
Right.
And we had our little cries. If it was little fights or spats or whatever we had to go through, but we were resolved that we were not going to let the emotion of the situation rip us apart.
Right. And I think that's the key. Like we said at the beginning, the key component is, number one, remember, it's not about you.
Yep.
Secondly, it's about love. You have to demonstrate love towards your ex, towards your children, to your bonus children.
Yep.
You got to be consistent.
Yep.
And if you can incorporate those three components, it's possible to have a healthy
100%
co-parenting relationship.
100%.
You may not be best friends.
Nope.
It may not get to that level, but you can coexist
right.
in a way that keeps the focus on the child.
Yep.
It's not about you.
It's actually healthy.
Right.
And I think that unfortunately people confuse health and friends, like that if the relationship is healthy, somehow it means we have to be the best of friends and we have to do. No. It can be healthy and you guys, and we'll talk a little bit about that next week. We'll talk about the three core components of blended families. Remember, right. I said that because I'm not writing it down. Remember, I said that. We're going to talk about the three core components in contrast to where
core components are the three types of
the three types of co-parents. Right. I'm sorry, thank you. because that's something different.
Right.
So the three types of co-parents, right? And so there are three basic types, and Sheri and I have worked our way up to a certain type of kind of co-parent. And those are friends, people who are they ride or die. They gonna be there together, raising that child. Another level is oil and water, or vinegar and whatever else that don't match. It's just crazy.
And then there's like a business partnership.
And then there's a business partnership kind of a relationship. And we're going to talk about how to move from unhealthy to healthy. Right. If you are new to our feed, we would certainly want to ask you to please subscribe. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell so that you'll know and get notifications when we go live. I think we had somebody that I'm not sure who it was say good morning, coaches. Is it Chele or Shelly? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Chele. Give me your government name and I'll pronounce it probably a lot better. And if that is your government name, help me with the pronunciation.
Yeah, so as Glenn said, if you're new to our channel, please subscribe and make sure you ring the bell so you get notifications of when we go live and when we also post new videos to the channel. Also, for those of you on the channel, please share this video out to those in your community so that they can get access to us. And if you're interested in learning more about what we do, who we are, please go to our website, www.thecrcoach.com, to learn more about our Marriages and Parenting Successfully Relationship Academy, and also how you can possibly bring us in for any events in your area. And
we do workshops and all that good stuff, and so we certainly would welcome the opportunity to connect with you guys.
Also,
Carolyn Watson, good morning.
Check out the website to learn about the marriage retreat.
Yes, the marriage retreat information is there. Shout out to Custom Homes of Virginia for giving us the opportunity to broadcast live from the Dream Center. If you're ever in the Suffolk area, Virginia, Hampton Roads area, Virginia, interested in buying a home, you're interested in building a custom home, these are some great folks. Just literally Google Custom Homes of Virginia and they'll come up, and that way you can get in touch with them. At the end of the day, guys, we all need some help. Y'all be good. We'll talk soon.